Welcome to the meeting of the Council of the City of Norwich, October 16, 2017. Those of you who can, would you please stand? And Alderwoman Gould will lead us in a prayer.
Almighty God, we ask for your blessing upon the members of this council as we assemble here in this chamber to conduct the ongoing business of our city. With your guidance, we will strive to ensure that all our decisions are for the common good, and your inspiration will instill respect, compassion, and thoughtfulness in all our deliberations. Give us the strength and wisdom to lead by example as the people's representatives, and that peace and harmony will mark all our proceedings and keep us faithful to the trust placed in us by the citizens of your community. Amen.
Alderwoman Philbrick, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Proclamation, Red Ribbon Week.
Alderwoman Gould, would you like to accompany me?
Yes.
Are you closing on the mayor so gets her position? Ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Come range, yours. Okay, close in on the mayor, please. Photo op.
Come on over here.
Around. Get
Yeah.
up white. Oh, there it is.
Well, I've bitten a few people. Come on, let's go. So all your family and friends. Okay. You all ready? Everybody's where they need to be? This is a proclamation by Alderwoman Gould and myself. Whereas communities across America have been plagued by the numerous problems associated with illicit drug use and those that traffic in them. And whereas there is hope in winning the war on drugs, and that hope lies in education and drug demand reduction, coupled with the hard work and determination of organizations such as the Young Marines of the Marine Corps League to foster a healthy and drug-free lifestyle. Whereas governments and community leaders know that citizen support is one of the most effective tools to reduce the use of illicit drugs in our community. Whereas the red ribbon has been chosen as a symbol commemorating the work of Enrique Kiki Camarena, a Drug Enforcement Administration agent who was murdered in the line of duty, and represents the belief that one person can make a difference. And whereas the Red Ribbon Campaign was established by Congress in 1988 to encourage a drug-free lifestyle and involvement in drug prevention and reduction efforts. And whereas October 23rd through the 31st, 2017 has been designated National Red Ribbon Week, which encourages Americans to wear a red ribbon to show their support for a drug-free environment. Whereas the members of the Three Rivers Young Marines who have served this community since September 17, 1995, and the youth of the City of Norwich and its surrounding communities are committed to living a drug and alcohol and tobacco-free lifestyle. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Deborah Hinchy, and Norwich City Council Alderwoman Stacey Gould, on behalf of the Norwich City Council and the citizens of the City of Norwich, do hereby proclaim October 23rd to the 31st as Red Ribbon Week in the City of Norwich, Connecticut, and urge all citizens to join us in this special observation. And that's dated the 16th day of October, and it's signed by Alderwoman Gould and myself. So, congratulations.
Stand in front with Alderwoman Gould, take a picture of the two of you with the proclamation for creds on Facebook.
Oh, geez.
Okay. Push, push, push.
Come on, everybody over. Close. Come on, closer.
Maybe hands are blocking the proclamation.
What did you say?
Thank you very much.
Good work, guys. Good work.
Thank you all very much.
Ci- Citizen comment on resolution, citizen comment general.
This is where we would like you to come up and speak about anything that has to do with the city. We ask you to clearly speak into the microphone and offer us your name and address. If you are here because you own a business or you work in the city, please state both your address, your home address, and what your connection to the city is. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and please make sure that you're speaking on non-agenda items. There will be public comment for the agenda items later. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on non-agenda items? Anyone wishing to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Rodney Bowles, 62 Roosevelt Avenue. It's good to see young people getting involved in the, getting themselves ready to enter a society that is, quite frankly, stoked up on drugs. Everybody takes painkillers, and people are suffering for it. I want to take this moment here to thank the council again for the work you guys did on the budget this past year. It's very easy to just say, yep, just go along with everything, and I know you've caught a lot of flack for the budget that was put out. And you're going to have to do it again this year. Quite frankly, the taxes in this city are still too high, and we need to get some of these things in line, just so that we can attract people to doing business into this city. We can't run them out. You know, my dad had a thing about, and I've said this before, is you can never spend more than what you make. And each year, we do this time and again. We call them bond issues. And you've heard me speak on this before, too. I'm not in favor of grabbing everything together and putting it in a bond issue, be it $400,000, $700,000, or $800,000. These things need to go in budgets, and they need to be negotiated on. My dad went bankrupt, I've told you this before, when I was 10 years old. And I remembered it all my life, because we lost everything. I mean everything. They came and got everything. So we don't want to be a bankrupt town, because it's hard to do business with a town that's bankrupt. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak on non-agenda items? Anyone else wishing to speak on non-agenda items? Yes, sir?
Good evening, Greg Rippo, 209 Boswell Avenue. I happened to read the minutes from the previous City Council meeting of October 2nd. A proclamation about city planning was read. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, etc. Really? Here. Whereas community planning helps manage this change that provides better choices for how people work and live. Try walking or bicycling to Mohegan Park from Rockwell or Boswell Avenue. Whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. Tell that to Mr. Evans and everybody that lives next to the Chelsea Gardens 20-year debacle. Whereas the benefits of planning requires officials and citizens who understand and demand excellence in planning. Look at Conover Shopping Center, because they couldn't plant a few trees in front of their yogurt shop to offer respite from the summer's heat. Let's talk about planning. Whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month, October is also the month of Halloween. And speaking of scary, whereas in 2013, the downtown Norwich Chelsea Landing area was recognized as a great American neighborhood by the APA. Really? Great. Obviously, the APA didn't visit during Christmas. Oh, and whereas the City of Norwich wants to improve sidewalks throughout the city, I ask, what sidewalks? I unfortunately happen to live on Boswell Avenue, a street that has to be, what, at least 200 years old. You cannot walk its length of approximately 2 miles because there are no sidewalks in many sections. There are no sidewalks for the poor in Taffville that have to walk in ruts to get their groceries at Starwood Market. Change? What change? Whereas I sound like a broken record in a broken town. Speaking of noise, I want to publicly thank Mr. Bowie of Roosevelt Avenue for previously requesting a noise ordinance. Mr. Bowie, I too requested a noise ordinance to be enacted. I supplied copies of similar ordinances to Mr. Martin here, and he tried. Mr. Nash tried. But it seems that having a garbage truck banging those big metal bins at 4 o'clock in the morning at a nearby apartment complex takes precedence over citizens getting a good night's sleep. So much for the philosophy. These zoning regulations are intended to guide land use activities in Norwich in ways that will protect the public health, safety, and welfare, maintain and enhance community character, and improve the economic value of property and general welfare of its residents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak on non-agenda items? Anyone else wishing to speak on non-agenda items? Anyone else wishing to speak on non-agenda items? Hearing none, this hearing is closed. Thank you all very much for your comments.
Public hearing number 1, relative to opt-out of temporary health structures.
I declare this public hearing on said proposed resolution open. And clerk, would you read the commission and city plan?
Yes, thank you. September 27, 2017, to the Honorable Mayor and all the persons of the Council of the City of Norwich. 1, regarding resolution to opt out of previous Public Act 17-155, including any amended provisions in subsection small a of section 8.2 of the Connecticut General Statute, which may require municipalities to allow the installation of temporary health care structures as defined therein. 2, an ordinance to opt out of the provisions of subsection small a of section 8-2 of the Connecticut General Statutes as amended by Public Act 17-155 concerning temporary health structures. The Commission on the City Plan at its September 26, 2017 special meeting reviewed the above referenced referrals. Seated were Art Sharon, Les King, Swanjay Singh Bhatia. After careful consideration, the Commission voted unanimously to forward a favorable recommendation to the Council pursuant to Chapter XV, Section 4 of the City Charter, to support both resolutions and ordinance to opt out and allow of temporary health care structures. Reason, there were multiple issues of concern noted due to ambiguity of the legislation. Sorry. Arthur Sharon, Chairman.
Very well done. We'll now have the people who would like to speak in favor. Again, I would ask you to state your name and your address. If you are not living in Norwich, please state your connection. And anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, this public hearing is closed. Thank you.
Number 2, an ordinance to opt out of the provision of subsection small a of Section 8-2 of the Connecticut General Statute as amended by Public Act 17-155 concerning temporary health structures.
I declare this public hearing on said proposed ordinance open, and we'll give it another go.
September 27, 2017, to the Honorable Mayor and older persons of the Council of the City of Norwich, regarding 1, a resolution to opt out of the provisions of Public Act 17-155, including an amended provision of subsection small a of Section 8.2 of the Connecticut General Statutes, which may require a municipality to allow installation of temporary healthcare structures as defined therein. 2, an ordinance to opt out of the provision of subsection small a of Section 8-2 of the Connecticut General Statutes as amended by Public Act 17-155 concerning temporary health structures. The Commission on the City Plan at its September 26, 2017 special meeting reviewed the above reference referrals. Seated were Art Sharon, Les King, Swan J, Save Batita. After careful consideration, the Commission voted unanimously to forward a favorable recommendation to the Council pursuant to Chapter 15, Section 4 of the City Charter to support both the resolution and the ordinance to opt out of the allowance of temporary healthcare structures. Reason, there are multiple issues of concern noted due to the ambiguity of the legislation. Respectfully submitted, Art Sherman, Chairman. Sorry again.
Now see if we read this a couple more times,
I
and we'll
don't.
have it all set. Okay, those wishing to speak in favor? Those wishing to speak in favor? Those wishing to speak in favor? Those wishing to speak in opposition? Those wishing to speak in opposition? Those wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I declare this public hearing closed.
Second reading on action on the above previous items. Number 1, relative to opt-out of temporary health structures.
Is there a motion and second to waive the reading of the full text and incorporate it into the minutes, said resolution being given its second reading? Mr. Martin, Ms. Gould. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion and second to put the following resolution on the floor? Alderwoman Gould, Alderman Braddock. Is there discussion? Hearing none, those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Number 2, an ordinance to opt out of the provisions of subsection small a of Section 8-2 of the Connecticut General Statute as amended by Public Act 17-155 concerning temporary health structures.
Is there a motion and a second to waive the reading of the full text and incorporate it into the minutes, said ordinance being given the second reading? Alderwoman Philbrick, Alderman Braddock. Those in favor? That's unanimous. Is there a motion and a second to put the following ordinance on the floor? Mr. Martin, Alderman Martin, and Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion? Hearing none, those, oh, wait a minute, roll call.
No, I'm in.
Demand to put the date in at the end of it.
Oh, sorry,
That's okay.
I missed a step here. Having voted as the zoning commission opting out of public hearing number 1, is there a motion and a second to amend to today, to add today's date? Alderman Gould and Alderman Braddock. Those in favor? So today's date is the 16th of October. Does anybody want to discuss that? Okay, hearing none, we'll do a roll call. Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderman Martin?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Braddock?
Yes.
Alderwoman Philbrook?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Nystrom?
Yes.
And Mayor Henchy says yes, and that is unanimous.
Petition and Communication 1, report from the Commission on City Plan of the City of Norwich pursuant to Section 8-24 of the Connecticut General Statutes, Chapter 15, Section 4 of the Norwich City Charter concerning the resolution for temporary healthcare structures and concerning an ordinance for temporary healthcare structures.
A motion and a second to receive it, please. Alderman Gould, Alderman Braddock, all those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
City Manager's Report.
Thank you. This is the city manager's report for October 16th, 2017. The mayor and I continue our weekly meetings. Chief Daley and I attended a meeting of the Groton Police Department with representatives from the statewide emergency telecommunications, I will say paren of the state police regarding radio communications. I also had a follow-up meeting with staff regarding the city's radio procedures and requirements. On October 3rd, I attended the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities meeting in Wallingford. On the agenda were the state budget update and CCM priorities and their approach to municipal advocacy in 2018. I held an interview for Inland Wetlands and Watercourse and Conservation Commission vacancy. I attended the monthly department head city coordination meeting at NPU training room on October 5th. I also met with Superintendent Dolliver and staff regarding the budget. I met with staff regarding upcoming pension negotiations. I attended Mayor Hinchy's State of Norwich address on October 11th, sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce of Eastern Connecticut. On Thursday, October 12th, I attended the Connecticut City Managers Association monthly meeting in Wethersfield. The guest speaker was OPM Secretary Ben Barnes from the State Department of Policy and Management. He advised that the state would not have a budget as of October 13th, which was previously anticipated. And you'll note it's the 16th and there's no budget at this point. Union negotiations were held on October 13th with staff and union representatives. 10 unions were invited to the first proposal exchange that was held at NPU headquarters. And finally, City Hall was featured as Walk 106 for the last Green Valley's annual Walktober. 22 people took the tour and were impressed with the history and architectural details of City Hall. Thank you to City Clerk Betsy Barrett for guiding the tour along with my assistant Jackie Barbarossa and historic consultant Reagan Miner. That concludes my report.
Any questions for the city manager? Yes.
It's the middle of October, Mr. Salamone. When are we going to start budget talks?
Well, we'll be in budget preparation starting in about another month, but we're already, I know the Board of Education starts before we have, and I'm sure that they'll be commencing that shortly. The problem is obviously we don't have a budget for this year, so it makes it more difficult to do next year. So we're hoping that a state budget gets approved soon.
Okay, and I follow up with all, I understand that, but with all due respect, I thought our goal last year was to start the budget process much earlier. I think it's never too early to start talking.
Well,
That's your decision, but,
excuse me, no, I certainly want to start early with the capital improvement plan. I think that's a good start because that's fiscally has multiple years in it, and that would be the appropriate thing to do, and we could start that very soon without even having the state budget.
thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Mr. Sullivan, I just wanted to follow up with last council meeting with the chiefs meetings. I know with the bond package that we have coming up for referendum, I know there's many houses that need repair and need certain needed items. I was just wondering if you're going to be starting up the...
I had a chiefs meeting today.
Oh, great, okay. That answers my question. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. In your notes, you talk about the 10 unions being invited. Did all 10 participate?
No, there's 2 unions that are not participating in the consortium, and if you ask me who it is, I can't remember at this moment. I can get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Citizen comment on resolutions.
This is where you can give us your ideas about the resolutions on the agenda. Again, I ask you to please state clearly your name and address, talk into the microphone, limit your comments to 3 minutes, and if you would, if you are not a resident of the city but you have a connection that pertains to these resolutions, please state both addresses. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak on the agenda? Anyone wishing to speak on the agenda? Hearing none, this hearing is closed. Thank you.
New business resolutions, number 1. Resolution amending a resolution adopted September 18, 2017, to clarify the renaming of city-owned property in Ockham.
Is there a motion and a second, please? Mr. Martin, President Pro Tem. Is there discussion? Perhaps, Mr. Driscoll, you would explain why we're making this change?
We're making the change largely to clarify questions about the use of the term Ockham Playground and Ockham Park. And it appears that on the city map, it actually shows an Ockham Park, which is located in Sprague, as part of Ockham. So the resolution is by specific volume and page as to that property will be referred to as the Reverend Sampson Ockham Playground going forward. And it clarifies, the GIS map shows the playground in one area and the park in another, and that the old maps that we have show it to be the reverse. So this, I think, clarifies any question that may come up.
Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, those in favor? And that's unanimous. So it is officially called, let's see,
The bottom line.
the bottom line. Reverend Sampson Ockham Playground. All right.
Number 2, relative to an appointment to the Inlands, Wetlands, Watercourse, and Conservation Commission.
A motion and a second, please. Alderman Braddock, Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion for the benefit of the public? This is a regular member, Peter Shalecki. Hearing no further discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous.
Number 3, relative to extending the delay in hiring of certain positions and postponement of layoffs of employees funded by the general fund until December 1st, 2017.
Is there a motion and second, please? Alderwoman Gould, Alderman Braddock. Is there discussion? Yes?
Yeah, I would just like to say that this resolution has appeared on the agenda for at least the last 3 months, and it seems to be a document in flux. The three, for the people that don't have access, is one police officer. It used to be a part-time recreation director and a blight control housing enforcement officer. We swore in a new police officer 2 weeks ago. I understand that that was in the pipeline, but I'm a firm believer that my mantra is just because you can doesn't mean you have to, i.e. the Intermodal Transportation Center. We have now switched out the assistant recreation director. That's is out, but the recreation facilities maintenance supervisor is in, which means we're going to get the assistant recreation director, but we're not going to get the we're going to eliminate the maintenance supervisor or not fill that position. So I guess my point is, if we're going to have a resolution that says we're going to do A, B, C, and D, I find it a little bit unsettling that we modify it as we go along. To me, it should be either or. But it's not my decision to make. I know part of it is because we're waiting for the state budget. And I have been assured by several individuals that this has no bearing on the budget, our current budget, that we have adequate funds to continue to pay these positions. But as I said, my quandary lies with the fact that we're switching out positions. It's either we don't need them or we do need them. So I just thought maybe somebody could clarify that for me.
You want me to try?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll try my best. When we first did this resolution during the summer, we were hoping that we would have a budget resolution sooner rather than later. Because it's been, now we're entering the fourth month of actually the fifth month soon for this council resolution. The budget evolves, positions become vacant, and sometimes not filling a vacant position that's become vacant is more beneficial budgetarily wise than the old position. Just a simple example, the recreation director was a part-time position. This is a full-time position. This actually saves us some additional funds as opposed to the recreation director. And that's why we come back each month to get it ratified again, because we want to make sure that everybody understands how it evolved and if there's any changes. So I hope I've answered a little bit of it.
And if I just may follow up? Mm-hmm. But I think you will agree, Mr. Solomon, that since this resolution first appeared months ago, we have filled vacant positions in the city that are not listed here. There have become some where people have left, and we have filled those.
That's
so
correct.
It's a little ambiguous when we say which are currently vacant.
Mm-hmm.
So I just...
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Or any questions? Yes, Mr. Martin.
Yeah, I want to personally apologize to anybody that's being affected by this resolution, them living in a state of flux, all of this because of the state not giving us a budget. We're basically playing cards and placing our poker bets here with people's lives, and we don't even have the cards in front of us. So I have no problems keeping those working as long as we possibly can. And once again, I apologize to those affected employees, their families, and everybody else that's been affected by this. Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous.
Number 4, relative to reallocate funds from the 2017-2018 capital budget to meet the local share requirement on the John B. Stanton School roof replacement project.
Motion and a second, please. Alderman Nash, Alderman Gould. Is there discussion? Yes, sir.
This question might be more for Superintendent, Mr. Oliver.
Would you like me to ask her
Yes,
to come
please.
up?
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for your time. I just have a real quick question. There was a question that came up at one of our meetings that we had, and it was about reimbursement from the state on this. Is there any availability for reimbursement for some of the work from the state on the Stanton roof?
We are getting $283,000
Okay, I just wanted to clarify
of
that.
the $375,000 project.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Was there any further questions for Superintendent Oliver? Yes.
Is there any reason for us to be concerned that this grant could be in jeopardy because of the situation in the state of Connecticut?
I don't think so. I think the bond and the department that has to approve it did. I don't know.
And when do
Honestly,
we-
who knows, but I don't think so.
And when do
But
we expect this project to start?
As soon as it goes to the bond commission, once this is passed, then we're going to do it on weekends pretty quickly, so that it's not done when children are in school, but that it's done before winter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? No? Hearing no discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous.
Motion to adjourn?
And seconded by Mr. Martin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Easy.